Hey everyone, welcome to DressYourFaceLive.com. Today's class is so fun because I have so many models. Welcome to the class. They're going to introduce themselves real quick and then we're going to just go ahead and get started. I did tag them in my latest post, so if you guys want to check them out, they're all local in the LA area. And you can check out their pages by visiting the tags on my latest post. It's that collage post. But we'll start here. Please give us your name and your Instagram.
Hi, I'm Katie Rediger. You can find me on Instagram at KatieDid_926_.
Yeah. And then the girl I'm totally hiding right now.
Hi guys, my name is Nina and you can find me on Instagram at Chinese Laundry.
Ooh.
With 2 A's in laundry.
Hi everybody, my name is Rebecca Rinaldi. You can find me on Instagram at Rebecca.Rinaldi. Pretty easy.
So they all got chosen in my model search. I don't know if you guys remember, but I did a huge model search on Instagram last week. And they were all chosen to be my models because they entered. And it was really cool. I saw their pictures. I was like, oh my God. Like, I get a lot of clients with similar nose shapes where we have sometimes a little bit wider here or sometimes a little bit flatter over here. So there's so many different types of shapes out there. So I wanted to make sure that we have plenty of models, including myself. I'll show you how I do my own. So you guys have an idea, so most of you out there can copy at home. If you guys have been my students for a while, then you're totally ready to actually just follow along. Whip out your contour products. For those of you who signed up for my year membership, you have a contour box with you. Unless you just signed up recently, then we're going to be sending those to you. But the goodies in the contour box are all goodies that you can absolutely use today in the show. So definitely try those items out. And if you don't have that contour box, just whip out any dark color powders, light color powders, cream contour stuff, and I'll talk about the items that I love and a shimmer product. And we'll go ahead and get started on those lovely things. So I will let my models go ahead and take a seat, relax, make yourselves comfortable, and I will go ahead and show you how I contour my own nose. So before we get started and zoom in all crazy on my face, I'm going to show you some of the items that I love. So one of the items would be a contour kit of some sort. There's so many contour kits out there that I really enjoy. Kat Von D has a really cool one. NYX has an amazing one. It actually has 8 colors instead of the typical 6. And Anastasia Beverly Hills has one that I've actually customized based on the type of clients that I work with. So we're going to use this today. I'll just tell you the colors that are in here in case some of you are struggling to find your perfect shades. If you like the colors that I constantly use in my classes, I have I'm going to walk in a little bit so you guys can totally say what's going on here. There's Banana and Golden Peach, L'Orange, which is a corrector shade, so we're not going to be really using too much of this in the contouring unless things look ashy. Then this is Fawn and Havana and Carob. So those are the 6 that I really love. And as far as like the cream contour and highlight goes, that's pretty much optional. You don't have to always do a cream, but if you really want it to show extra special, it's really nice to have a cream underneath the powders. So the creams that I really love are these. These are all from LA Girl Cosmetics, and the one that I use for contour is this one. This is called Beautiful Bronze. It's from the HD Pro Conceal. And then I constantly use Creamy Beige. This is Creamy Beige. It's the highlight color that I use a lot. But for the in-betweeners out there who are not exactly this tone for the highlight, if you're working on someone or yourself that's lighter than this and you need a light color such as Classic Ivory or Porcelain if you're really fair-skinned, then there's also let's see what color this is. Oh, this is also Creamy Beige. This is my second Creamy Beige. And then I have Pure Beige, which is just a couple of shades darker than Creamy Beige. So those are the 3 that I kind of switch in between, but mainly Creamy Beige is pretty universal, and it does come in the contour kit box, and so does Beautiful Bronze. So you will be set with those. And then let's see. Oh, the shimmer stuff. I'm so open to whatever shimmer products. I have so many different kinds of shimmer products, and that's if you really want to show like a pop of shine as your highlight. And I have some over here. I have not done anything on my nose yet because I want to do this on camera so you guys can see what I do. But some of the shimmer products that I really love would be the Girlactic Face Glow in Natural. It looks so good and very, very refined. And then if you guys want a little bit of a stronger highlight, something that's a little bit more light reflective, try the Gerard Cosmetics Marilyn highlight. That's really good stuff. So those are the two that I'm constantly going in between. And then I have a bunch of others from like MAC and a whole bunch of other places. So what we'll do is, while I'm doing my nose and all the other girls' noses, we are going to show you exactly where to place the products and what brushes to use and how hard to contour, how light to contour. I want you guys to understand how much pressure to use, because I know nose contouring is so hard, and I know that a lot of you have been struggling with this based on your comments. I'm totally listening. I'm here for you, and so I really want you guys to be clear on how to do all this stuff. So it's going to be a pretty cool class. The rest of the face makeup is pretty much done, just the nose contour is left. My models came in already ready, so let's do this. So what we'll do right now is we're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see my full face. And we'll get started. Scary. Okay. And I'm just going to be using a mirror in front of me just to make sure everything's on point here. I'll try my best not to block, okay? So right now I have face powder on, but it's not a huge deal if you want to contour after your face powder is done, especially if you're going from a very natural look to a very dramatic nighttime look. But it is advised that you do your cream contour and highlight stuff after, before you finish off with the powder. So if you were to start from scratch, you would just have foundation on, and then you'd go right into the cream contour and the highlights. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my contouring. But actually, you know what? Let me start the highlight, because I really want you guys to see how to do it with just highlight if you guys ever wanted to. We're gonna use a creamy beige. And again, this is the LA Girl Pro Conceal, so it's really easy. It actually has a brush applicator, so it makes life super simple. And what I like to do is I like to squeeze a little bit of product into the brush, put it on the back of your hand first, and then go down your nose. And that way you're not squirting so much product down your nose. So I'm gonna start with right in between my eyebrows, okay? And I'm working my way down in a straight line. Now, one of the things that I don't like about my nose is that I have a wideness here and I have very skinny here. So my nose bridge is really tight over here, and then it gets wide here, and then my nostril hangs low. The tip of my nose, where in between the nostrils, hangs kind of low. So I want to kind of minimize how low the nose is hanging here, and I want to sharpen this middle part to make it really tight, but I don't want this upper portion to be super tiny because it's already really tiny. So my goal is to make this part look wider and to make the rest of it look really, really tight, and to kind of cut off this tip of my nose so it doesn't look like it's hanging, just so you know what the goals are. So if you have a similar nose shape to mine, I just start off with this middle line, and then I'm also going to create like a T shape, an upside down T. So I just created a line right across from the top of my nostril here over to here. So it's like a little upside down cross, okay? That way, and I'm gonna try to just make sure you guys understand why I'm doing everything too. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's gonna start that sharpness around here, so it looks like my nose is shorter over here. Now I'm ready for the actual contouring. So we're gonna put a little bit of product just on the back of the hand. And I'm going to start off, I'm gonna try to do this so I'm not blocking you guys. I'm gonna start off a little bit wider here, in between the brow zone. So see how it's a little bit wider here? And then now that I'm going into a skinnier portion, I'm just gonna drag the line straight down. As straight as possible. And it's just hugging up right up against the highlight line. I want it to just hug right up. So right over here, So see how it's just hugging up right up against the highlight line. Now, the other thing I want you guys to notice is that I'm sure you guys have seen my other past tutorials where I've gone all the way around. So these lines, instead of the 11s, they go all the way down and creates a U shape. That actually makes the nose look longer. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to make my nose look shorter. So instead of connecting all the way down my nostril, I'm actually going to draw right up against that T shape. So I'm creating these little L lines. See that? L, L. And now, from the top of my nostril to the other top, I'm drawing a line across. So I'm literally cutting right through. So it's as if I'm drawing a whole new nose. And this is not something that you would do every day unless you want to. Why not? Whatever. I love nose contouring. But it's just for fun. So it's just about playing with lights and darks for photography. And even in person, it doesn't look crazy as long as you blend it. So this is just for fun. So, you know, it's not like you have to do this all the time. All right? So now I have that going on. Another thing you could do, if you want the tip of your nose to look super sharp, you can connect the top edge line so that you can create a little bit more of a sharpness on the tip of the nose, and that actually does make the nose look a little shorter. Because if you just draw two lines on the side of a highlight, it's going to make the nose look like it's going on and on and on. So that's better for someone who has a shorter nose. But for someone like me who already has a long nose and a dip at the bottom, you want to create a little bit more of that visual shortening effect. So that's all you do. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to pose for you so you guys can get your screenshots and save it. So I'm going to do the side-to-side posing because I want you guys to know exactly the map on how to do the nose contour for noses that look like mine. So if you have a longer nose and you want the tip to be more refined, this is kind of a cheat sheet for you. So you can go ahead and take your screenshots. Just posing for you. Okay, so hopefully you got that in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I blend it. So I'm gonna go in with this is one of my favorite concealer brushes here. This is the MAC 287 brush. And I'm going to start by flatly patting in all the highlight zones. So flat brush, and I'm just patting it right in. And then for the tip, I'm just using my fingers, or you can use the edge of the brush so that it doesn't look too crazy on the tip. You should still be able to see the highlight, it just shouldn't be a thick white line. Now that I'm done with that, I'm wiping off the brush so I'm not contaminating between the darks and the lights. And I'm just gonna rub up and down until I start to kind of fade away the dark zones. Notice how I'm not sliding it down to the side of my nose. What that tends to do is it tends to make it look a little bit whiter. So I'm just rubbing up and down to fade the line. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now, a lot of my students have this question, which is, what if you put too much dark on and it's not really blending? If that's the case, you pick up some of the product on the edge of your brush like this. So I'm picking up product and I'm just going to wipe it off on a tissue. Now that my clean brush is ready to pick up more product, I can do the same thing, picking up more product and wiping it off on a tissue. That way you're not reapplying the product that you just picked up with your brush. Another thing you could do is if your product is already dried, you can actually use your finger to smooth the line up and down. So like here, I'm just going up and down, smoothing that line. Make sure that part under your eyebrow is well blended too. And I'm just smoothing the edges here. Okay, now I'm ready to do the tip. So we're just gonna buff away this dark line right on the bottom. And I'm gonna use my fingertips to make sure that it doesn't look super brown. And then sliding over the tip of the nose, that break that I created. All right, now that the product has been blended in a little bit, it's time to use powders to set it and to soften it, because no one wants to walk around with brown lines on the nose. Everyone's gonna be like, whoa, what the hell? You didn't even blend it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use powders to soften the effect so it doesn't look crazy in person, but it still shows really well for camera. So I'm going in now with my Anastasia contour kit, as well as some of my own face powder. So the face powder that I'm going to use for myself is the NC40 from MAC. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small eyeshadow brush. This is the MAC, I think it's the 239. I'm not 100%, the number totally wiped off. But it's a small MAC eyeshadow brush. And I'm gonna put a little bit of banana on this brush. This is the Anastasia banana. And I'm just going to apply it along the center of my nose and right along this edge right down there. See how it really pops more? And that's just to set the highlight zone so that it doesn't completely disappear when I put on my NC40, which is my natural color. Now I can take a small brush. This is MAC 227. MAC 227. And I'm going in with the NC40. And I'm actually going to stamp it right along the contour line. See how it just softened it up so quickly right there? And it starts to look really natural. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So if you guys have a problem of your contour lines going on too dark, use your own natural face powder color to grab onto it and make sure that color is a full coverage powder so that it actually does show. If it's too translucent, it's not gonna show. And that's going to literally just take away the harshness of the brown line without completely making everything disappear. See how natural everything's starting to look? So again, just using your own real color powder, Studio Fix. I'm using the NC40 Studio Fix powder just to soften everything up here. Now another thing you can do to make your nose look even more Barbie, if you're into that, like I am, you can go back in. I go in with a mixture of the banana and the golden peach. And I'm going to use that to cover up some of the shadows of the side of my nose right here. You'll see exactly why I'm doing this when we compare both sides real quick. Okay. So see how when this shading here kind of goes down, it makes the nose look a little wider here? But over here, I re-lightened the side of the contour and it actually makes your nose look tighter, more pinched. So if you want that really, really tight look on the nose, make sure you're going back after you're done with your contouring and stuff, going back with a really bright color and hugging up right up against that contour line on the side, and it just squeezes it in so you don't see that shadow right here. So I'll do the same thing on the other side and you guys will understand why I'm doing it now. So I'm just going in right along the side of my contour zone. I'm not covering the contour zone like I did before. I'm literally just going along the side of it. And I'm just smoothing it out. And see how that just kind of tightens up the overall appearance of my nose. So it looks super, super, super tiny. And then of course you could go back and refine the center if you feel like you lost anything. And I'm gonna take a step back so you guys can see how tight the nose looks now. Really, really contoured, really sharp. So this is for someone who wants a very dramatic change to the nose. Lastly, you can add a little shine. And the way I do that, again, is with a small eyeshadow brush. You can go in with whatever products. I have the Marilyn here from Gerard Cosmetics. I'm gonna take a small amount of product and I'm just going to apply it on the areas that I want to really show that shine. So that will be on the center of the bridge of my nose to make it look really sharp. And I'm also going to do it along that whole tip region. So now I have a little bit of a shine going on in my nose and it's kind of matching the shine of the cheekbone. And it doesn't look as powdery anymore. Yay! And another quick little thing is I kind of do it on the top here, on the top of the brows. So it just kind of creates like a little bit of a T. And that way it just looks more natural, less powdery, and everything starts to kind of come together. So now you can see my after. Ta-da! Here's the side views. And of course, you guys are in control of how much product you want to use and the shades of your products. If you don't want it to look as strong, if you really want it to look more subtle, like I'm about to do on the other girls, I'm going to go a little bit more subtle. So if you want to go more subtle, you don't have to go as dark with your contour and as light with your highlight. That contrast is what makes it really, really strong. So if you don't want as much of a strong contour, lower the contrast, keep your colors a little bit more closer to your natural skin color, and it won't show as much. And that's it. That's it for me. So I'm going to introduce, well, I'll bring on my first model. Who wants to go first? Is your peeps here? Yeah. Okay, come on over. All right, so we're gonna bring in our first model and I'm gonna show you what we do for her. All right, hi again. All right, we're gonna go ahead and zoom into the face and I'll explain how we're going to do nose contour. Ooh, okay. All right, cool. So first thing we're going to do is we're gonna add a little bit of a contour line on both sides, similar to the way I did it. So she and I both have longer noses. It's not super short. So our goal is to make it appear just a little bit shorter. And then where my nose was wider on the center portion, her nose is wider on the bottom portion. So I'm gonna go really tight over here and I'm gonna create those L shapes just like I did it on myself. So it's very, very similar to what I did for my nose. So first things first, we're gonna go in with the contour product. This is the LA Girl Pro Conceal. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a wipe down with the Cinema Secrets brush cleaner. And that's gonna disinfect it so I can use it on multiple people. Not that I was infected or anything, but better to just show your clients that you're sanitizing it instead of them assuming. All right, so I have a little product on my hand and I'm gonna use this brush as my method of application. So I'm gonna start off with under the brow, going in towards the bridge of the nose, okay? So you guys can see the sides. And now we're just gonna go straight down. And to me, honestly, it doesn't matter if you're starting off with a highlight or you're starting off with a contour, as long as you know where the placement goes. So see how I'm just kind of cutting right through the tip of the nose right here? You can see that line starting to appear on the surface. I'm gonna do the same on this side. Okay, so now you can see these two parallel lines. It's totally showing on the tip of the nose, and that is fine because that's what we're going to use to balance off the top and the bottom. Now we're going to create that L shape right on the side there, and we're going to connect nostril to nostril. Okay? So you guys can see now this new nose shape, and we're going to have to blend it and keep it really natural so it doesn't show all crazy in person. And another thing we can do is the same thing that we did on mine, which was connect the tip right on the top. Okay? So that part is done. We can do the highlight. And again, doesn't matter when you do the highlight, as long as you're not confusing the actual location of where the highlight needs to go and where the contour needs to go. But I usually like to show my students to do the highlight first, only so that, you know, when you're putting on the highlight here, remember how I hug up against the highlight for the contour lines? So in case you're not sure how tight to go with your contour lines, if you start with your highlight, here's an example. You start with your highlight and see how when you smash the brush, the width of that line, that's how wide you want to go. So then you can just draw your contours right on the side. Alrighty. So now we have to blend. So if you guys just want to see this side to side, you could just kind of do a side to side view there. So you guys can see exactly where the placement is. You guys can get your screenshots in and make sure you remember where everything goes. And now we're going to go back to my favorite concealer brush, which is MAC 287. And I'm going to blend a little bit with this. Okay, I just gave it a little wipe down. And now we're going to go and flatly pat down the highlight zones. Okay, then we wipe off the brush again because I don't want to mix the highlight with the contour. And we're going to just scoop down, up and down on the contour line on this side and the contour line on this side. As far as the pressure I'm using, I'm not going too hard with her. I'm kind of doing it as if it's like a feather stroking. And that way I'm not disrupting all the foundation underneath and the other stuff going on. I don't want to spread the product too much. I want to keep it in the zones that it's at, and I just want to fade it, that's all. So a light stroke is all you really need. All right. Now that the product is somewhat blended, we're going to use powder to complete the blend. So we're going to go in with the I would say NC 25. And the brush we're going to use is the M407, which is actually very similar to the one I used on myself. It's almost like a duplicate of that. The other one that I used was the 227 from MAC. This is M407 from Morphe brushes. So that's the dupe if you guys want to get the Morphe one instead. And what we're going to do is we're going to go right up along the side of the contour line just to tighten up the shadow part and disguise it. See how it just blurs the skin too? It totally looks like it's filtered. And we're going to do the same on the other side, right underneath the contour, just slicing right underneath the contour line and covering up the side of the nose. Again, I love Studio Fix powder because it has that capability of actually covering as well as setting. It's a foundation powder in one, so it's really awesome. And then I'm going to make sure I'm just kind of going around here as well. And now I can switch to my smaller eyeshadow brush. And I can use the same product too if I want it to be more natural. Instead of going super white on the bridge of her nose, I'm going to just use her regular powder color. And I'm just going to set the middle bridge. And I'm going to connect it to the T-zone on the top. T. And we're going to go all the way down with this. And now I'm just going to sharpen up very tightly the tip here. And whatever's left on my brush, I'm gonna resharpen the edges of the contour line. So we're literally just wiping off or covering up any shadowy areas on the side of the nose. Okay? So now that the edges of the contour line is done, we're gonna go in with NC40. And that is gonna be our medium color, and that's what's going to kind of fade away this contour line so it doesn't look too strong. We're just going to let it grab on softly to the contour line. So now you guys can kind of see a soft contour, but it's not super dark or anything. It's really softened up with that. If you guys, and I want to show you both versions, so if you guys want to go a little bit more dramatic, you can always go back in with the Anastasia contour kits using one of the darker tones. So I'm going to use Fawn with this little toothbrush brush. This is the oval number 3 brush from MAC, oval number 3. I'm going to wipe off some on my hand just so I'm not getting too much on her. And if you want to reshade the sides, you absolutely can with this brush. So it's done in layers, guys. Instead of just slapping stuff on and then blending it out, you want to do things in thin layers so it actually looks a little bit more subtle and a little more natural. And you're in more control this way when you're doing it in layers. And then now whatever's left on this original brush, I can just kind of soften it up. And I do this back and forth just so I can create a nice balance until I'm happy. Until I feel like, okay, I think this is it. I don't want to do more than this. So at this point, I think this is it. And I think all we need to do is a little bit of shimmer. And that, again, is an optional thing. You don't have to do the shimmer, but it is absolutely a fun thing. The only time I don't do a shimmer is if I feel like the nose has a lot of enlarged pores, because shimmer is going to make the pore size look bigger. So if someone is if you're working on somebody or on yourself and you don't feel like you have a large pore day, then you can go ahead and use a little bit of shimmer. And so I'm just going to be using the shimmer just along this center zone here. But I am not going to be using it on the sides here because the whole point was for us to go a little bit tighter towards the end of the nose. And if you add shimmer there for noses that have a little bit of wideness here, it's actually going to make the nose look wider. So we want to just do it right along the center zone here and keep this pretty matte. Another thing you could do is if you really want to tighten this up, you could go all the way down with a little bit of the bronzer, whatever's left on the toothbrush brush. And that just tends to let go of the lighter area over there. But again, be prepared to see a little bit of a longer nose in that case, because if you are taking away that wide zone, you're also going to make the nose look longer. So you need to make sure you're also cutting right through at the tip so it doesn't look too long. There's so many tips and there's so many secrets to nose contouring, but I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible for you guys. So cheat sheet method, light down the center, dark L's on both sides. So you want to go all the way down to the part where you want it to go skinnier and cut right through. So instead of starting your L way up here, you want to go down towards the tip and then cut right through and then cut the bottom. And that's it. Just make sure the sides are pretty light so it doesn't look too shadowy on the sides right in here. Remember how we added a little bit of light there? That just kind of removes some of that shadow. So everything just looks more natural and soft and just a little bit more defined than before. Yay! And that is our first, well, technically second model because that was my first model. So this is the second model. We are now completed and now we're ready for our third model. So we are going to do a little switcheroo here. Hello. Hi. Alrighty. So we're going to zoom in and I'll talk about what our goals are for this one. Okay. So in this case, She doesn't have a longer nose like I do. She has a little bit of a shorter nose, so we don't have to shorten it up more. Also, we have a little bit of a flatter area here, which I want to show you how to define. So if you guys also have the bridge of the nose a little bit flatter than mine, then instead of flattening it out more, what we're going to do is we are going to add shadow in through here, up until her eye over here. And that's what's going to create more depth on the sides of the nose, so it looks sharper right in through here. So we're going to concentrate most of our contouring right in here, and just a little bit throughout the rest of the nose. So that is what we're going to do. First thing first is we are going to highlight, and I want to show you how to do this with powders. So you guys know, in case you don't want to use a liquid, you can absolutely do it with powders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with NC 42 and 45 as her main powders. These are all MAC Studio Fix powders, by the way, so when I'm referring to NC something, those are all the MAC Studio Fixes. So let me grab those two colors for her. And here's the NC 42, right over here. It's a very warm tone, and I'm going to go in with my eyeshadow brush. And we're going to focus on the bridge of the nose. This is a technique also if you want to just focus on the highlighting. This is also called reverse contouring. For people with darker skin tones, you can focus more on the highlighting, and that's actually going to make the nose look contoured if you're just focusing on the highlight. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to show you reverse contouring first, and then I'm going to do the regular contouring. So reverse contouring again means you're focusing on the highlight to make the other areas appear like it's been contoured. So I'm just making a flat line, straight line, all the way down to the tip of her nose. You see that? How it already kind of looks a little bit more defined. And that's with the NC 42. I'm also going to go right up against the side of the nose here. See that? I'm going to go right up and sharpen up the side. And what that's going to do is it's going to show her natural skin tone right in between as a thin line, and that's going to look like a contour line. So I'm going right along the edge there. And I'm going to close it and go all the way down and cover up the nostril here. That's to make the nostrils appear a little bit more pinched. Same thing on this side. We're just going to make this highlight area right over here, create a contour line right in between, and I'm sure you guys can see it pretty good. And we're going to fill in the entire nostril here. Alright, so now that we have highlight down the middle and highlight on the sides, we have now created a little bit of this line and line where it's her natural skin color, and that kind of shows up as a contour zone. So now all we have to do is go back in with our little toothbrush brush, give it a little wipe down. And I'm whipping out my Anastasia contour kit. This is the Havana. And I'm going to use this to further define the empty zones. And that just kind of sets the makeup there too. We're just making two lines. The other cool thing we're going to do is we're going to go in with a blending brush. I'm going to use, this is the Morphe 433 brush, Morphe 433, with the same Havana color. And I'm going to connect it right into her eyeshadow. And that's going to create depth right in here so that it doesn't look flat anymore. It starts to look like it's super, super deep and defined in this corner. So just roll it right under the brow and right into the crease of your eyes. This technique works really well for Asian skins as well. If you have Asian eyes, Asian nose, which is less defined, it's a little bit flatter in here, this technique is what I usually use. And I'm just gonna blend right in there now. So now we have this totally drawn on nose at this point. So now, to make it look a little bit more natural, we're gonna go back in with her actual powder color, which is I think this is actually NW. Yeah, this is NW43, but I want to use NC45. Okay, let's see here. Okay, NC45 is what we're going to use. We're going to go in with that MAC 227 brush, MAC 227, and we are now going to soften up the entire area with her natural color. And that marries the whole thing together so it doesn't look all crazy anymore, and it just starts to look more blended, more soft. There we go. And if you guys want to see how to use the orange color, if you guys have ever used a product that ends up looking very gray for contour, you may need to add a little bit of warmth to it so it doesn't look so gray. So one of the things that I've done is I've used the Anastasia Contour Kit L'Orange. This is the orange color. And you can dip in with your blending eyeshadow brush and just add a little bit of this orange over the contour zones so it doesn't look so gray. So if anything ever looks too ashy or too gray, add a little bit of orange to it and it starts to look a lot more healthy. And I'm just adding a little bit of orange. See how I said that this is a corrector color? That's exactly what I'm using it for, just for a little correcting. And lastly, all we need is a little bit of shine. So if we want to go back in, actually I have this really great color from Galactic called Bronze, so that's what I'm gonna use. This is Bronze from Galactic. And I'm just going to use that right along the bridge of the nose, and I'm going to use my finger just to soften it up so it doesn't look super shiny. And if I want, I can add a little bit to this side and this side as well, just to create a little bit of a balance. So that, my friends, is a completed contour on how to make the nose look less flat, more out and more defined. And it's pretty subtle in person, but it does show up pretty good on camera. I like it. So she's gonna just go ahead and do the side to side posing just so you guys can see a little bit more if you guys want to get any screenshots. This is a little bit more dramatic than you would go for the daytime. This is definitely an evening version, but for the daytime, if you want it to look a little bit more natural, like I said, if you just go right in with the natural skin color and go over all the contour zones with your natural color, it ends up just looking a lot more soft. So now when she goes side to side, it doesn't show up as much. So that's the different versions of the nose contour to make your nose look longer and more defined. Yay! We're done with our third nose of the day. Now for the final model. She's gonna come on up. Hello. So, this is our final model of the day, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on how to make a very narrow nose. So we're going to zoom into the face just so you have a better idea of where everything goes. It's going to be really, really similar to what we did on our previous model. So in her case also, the nose is not super long, so we do not have to shorten it. All we're going to do is just create our double line right over here, and it's just going to make everything appear a lot more narrow. So it's basically going to be very similar to what we did before, except for what we did before on our previous model, we also went all the way up into the crease. In this case, we're not going to go all the way up into the eye crease. We're just going to focus on the nosy. So first things first, we're going to highlight right down the center of the nose. And again, I'm using creamy beige, which is kind of like my universal tone. So we are just creating this little highlight strip right across the center there. And we're going to go in with the beautiful bronze. Give it a little wipe down. All right. So now we're going to curve right in on both sides till the line touches the highlight line. And now we're literally just going to draw straight down, hugging right up against the highlight. Okay, so you ignore everything, just create this double line. That's it. And we're going all the way to the tip and we're going to connect at the bottom. That's literally all we're going to do in this case. You don't have to do anything else, but if you want to go super, super professional with this and more advanced, in that case, yes, you can create a dip here if you want to create a little bit more texture to the nose, and you can shadow up into the brow area as well if you really want to do a little extra. But the most important thing, if you have a wider nose that you just want to narrow it down, draw one line down the middle in the highlight and then hug up right up against like a sandwich with the darker lines. Now we're ready to blend. So I'm going to go back with my favorite concealer brush. I'm going to give it a little wipe down. Again, this is the 287 from MAC. And I'm just lightly tapping down the highlight line. And that's that. Now wiping it down again so we're not contaminating between the lights and the darks, we're going to scoop out the dark. So I'm just going back and forth, up and down. We don't want to slide it all the way down, just up and down, light feather strokes, just to blend. Up and down, feather strokes, curving it right into the brow, covering the tips, and if anything still looks off, just use your finger. Okay, so now that that part is blended, we're going to start setting everything with the appropriate powder. So going to either the MAC 227 brush or the Morphe 407 brush, those are dupes. We can go in with her highlight powder color, which will be the NC25. NC25, going in with plenty of this, and we are now very carefully going to stamp across the middle zone of the nose. Okay, and now we're going to stamp on the sides of the contour. So remember how I said, if you just stamp along the sides of the contour line, you're basically creating a whole new nose contour, so you don't really see the true area that the nose width is. It's completely hidden. So now it just looks flat on the sides here. So you can literally just create wherever you want your bridge to go. It's crazy, just with a little bit of makeup, you can manipulate so much on the whole face. And I'm sure you guys have seen my past contour classes where I did the whole face. I did it on myself too, so you got to see my own before and after and how much I change when I don't have contour versus when I do. And it's all fun and games. It's not that serious, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, so now we have kind of covered up the sides of the nose a bit. Just a little more here. And now we're ready to do the contours area. And I don't want it to be super dark, so I'm going to go in with the NC42. With the toothbrush brush. And we're just going to lightly set the sides there. And I'm just barely blending down. I don't want to blend down all the way. It's going to make the nose look white again, but little bit. So it just kind of overlaps with the edge of the highlight line. That's all. And then the last thing is kind of stepping back, seeing if there's anything that needs to be blended, if there's anything that needs to be softened. I can go in with the NC40, which is more of a medium tone, and now soften up that contour line. Remember, when you do things in layers, you have much more control over how much product you're using, over how light you're going, how dark you're going. So that's why I started off with the other shades, and now I'm going in with the mediums to now just kind of soften everything up so it looks a little bit more subtle. Just a hint more subtle. Okay. And at this point, we are ready for the highlight right down the center of the nose. So I'm going to go in with my eyeshadow brush again. And we will dip into the Marilyn Highlight by Gerard Cosmetics. And we're just going to make a little strip here. And I'm making a little point right at the tip of the nose, so that makes it the nose. See how I just made a little point here? That makes the tip of the nose look super, super sharp. So now it looks a little bit more balanced. More balanced. Okay. So at this point, if you want to go darker, if you want to go lighter, that's completely up to you. I'm pretty happy with how things are at this point. We can go around, just remove any little shine that's on the edges. So as long as everything on the nose is matte and you're just adding shine to that center zone of the nose, you create a tighter, more narrow nose rather than a wider look. If you want to go, if your nose is very, very sharp and you're trying to widen it out, then you want to create your brown lines, the two brown lines, you can spread them out a little bit more on the sides. But to create a little bit more narrow, you want to go right on the top of the nose rather than the side of the nose, and that's the key. A lot of people that I see that want to make their nose look less wide, they'll go and they'll draw their brown lines on the side of the nose, and that's incorrect. You want to draw it kind of towards the top of the nose, so you're creating a thinner edge rather than just going across where your nose is naturally ending. Then there's not going to be much of a difference. Okay? So we are all set. You guys are all done. Yay! Let's bring out the other girls. Let's all kind of say bye before I do my Q&A. So we're going to zoom out a little bit. And then I'm going to let them go home because it's been stormy and rainy here in LA. So I don't want to hold them here too long. But we'll all say bye. Come on in the screen. Bye, guys. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. It was really, really fun, and thanks for letting me play with your faces and show you guys to the world. And again, I've tagged all of them on my latest post on Instagram, so if you guys want to check them out and show them some love, go ahead and visit their pages and do so. And at this point, go ahead and go on my latest post so you can write down your questions, and I'm going to go ahead and answer them. But I'll let my lovely ladies go. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you guys all here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. They can go ahead and take pictures and enjoy their night. And now I'm ready for the Q&A. They're so cute. They're taking like selfies right now. Aww. So go ahead and ask your questions on my latest post on Instagram. Say bye to my Snapchat, guys. Bye. If you guys want to see their before and after, head to my Instagram. Okay, so latest post on Instagram, ask your questions, and for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to go ahead and answer them. Let's see what you guys have for me here. Okay, so how would you contour a nose that has a bump towards the top part, like closer to their eyes? So if you're talking about a bump on the nose right up on the top, the side view is always going to show a bump. There's nothing you can do to remove that with makeup unless you're doing like photography tricks. But for the front, if it shows a pretty sharp bump here where it's pretty light, there's certain things that you can use in the theory of highlighting contour that can help minimize that look. I just want you guys to understand a little bit more about the lights and the dark. So if you guys are new to this, here's a little more information for you. When you are trying to figure out where to highlight, you want to highlight and put a light color on the areas that you want to come out more. And if you want to figure out where to contour, you want to put the dark colors on the areas that you want to go in more, recede in. So the areas that you want to create a little bit more sharpness and things like that, with the right balance of the contour and the highlight, you can create really cool effects like you've seen just now. So when you're dealing with a bump on the nose, what is happening is that bump area is coming out. So in order to make it look like it's sunken in more, you do not want to highlight the bump of the nose. So let's say I had a bump right here. I would highlight above the bump and highlight below the bump, but on the bump itself, I would not highlight it at all. You don't even really necessarily want to contour it either, because it's just going to look kind of brown or muddy. So just leave that part alone, focus the highlights above the bump and below the bump. And if you want to, you can add a little bit of bronzer just right on the bump. If it's looking too out, you can add a little bit of bronzer so it just kind of pushes back a little bit. But that's the secret to making bumps appear less sharp or less out in pictures and even in person. But again, the side view is always going to show a little bit, but like center, like straight on view, you're not going to tell at all that there's any bump on the nose. Okay. So another question, would you ever use a beauty blender? Oh, sorry. That original question was from C Solano 88. And now this next question is from Lauren, I think it's either Lauren T. Hayer or Lauren Thayer. Yeah, Lauren Thayer, 21. Would you ever use a beauty blender to blend out the contour and the highlight of the nose, or only brushes? Beauty blenders are awesome. I'm just not really used to beauty blenders, so I prefer using brushes and my fingers. But if you have a beauty blender, you can use the wide part of the beauty blender to apply foundation and the pointy part of the beauty blender to apply the highlight and the contour and to sculpt the sides. But yeah, I'm used to brushes, so I love brushes. But if you guys are beauty blender lovers, you can absolutely use a beauty blender. Just use that sharper side to go along the sides to create your highlights and your contour zones. All right, so Jasmina NYC is asking, what if you have a crooked nose and your nostrils aren't symmetrical? One nostril is wider than the other. How would you make it look even and straight? So in case you're working on someone that has a crooked nose, what you want to do is start off by creating your highlight line directly down the center of their face. So focus it more on looking at the whole face, not necessarily just the nose, and creating a single line right going straight down. So if the nose is tilting to one side or the other side, ignore it and draw your line going straight down. Focus the beginning of your line right in between your eyebrows, and that's how you want to end it, right aligned right to the center of your lip. So no matter where your nose is, your first line has to go very straight. That's going to be your highlight line. Now, just like I did in this last model, the wider nose, do the same thing. Hug up right up against those two, that highlight line, hug up right up against with two darker lines going straight down. So remember the very first girl I did after I did myself? It was thinner here and wider here. I did not go wider as I went down. I went straight down in my skinny, skinny, thin line. So that's the same concept that you want to do for an asymmetrical nose. You want to go very symmetrical, very straight. You don't want to go wider as you go down. You don't want to tilt to the left or tilt to the right as you go down. You want to literally hug up right up against your highlight lines, and then when you blend it out, it'll appear like it's much more symmetrical. So focus, instead of focusing too much on the nostrils, focus more on the overall straightness of the nose, the bridge of the nose, and then everything else tends to come together a lot easier. So try that and let me know how you like that tip. Next is, let's see. Okay, so Anju 1991 is asking, I have a normal size top nose, but at the bottom it's not wide but fat looking. Do you know how to fix that? So basically kind of the same method that I used on model number 1. I went, like she had a skinny on the top and wider on the bottom. My problem is skinny on the top, wider in the middle and the bottom. But hers kind of just progressively got wider as you go down, and it was the widest at the bottom. So instead of going wider with your contouring, you literally just want to go straight down to a top contour over here, go straight across your the tip of the nose, and then just in the center you can add a little bit of shine, like I did in the very last model, how I added that little pop of shine right in the middle. That makes the nose look nice and sharp right on the tip, so it doesn't look pudgy on the sides. Sugar Lilies is asking, will you explain more about reverse contour on the nose? So basically on my middle model, model number 2, I did a reverse contour because she had darker skin. More for African American skin tones, what you want to do is more of that reverse contour. So I did explain it in the demonstration. I'm not sure if you saw that, but you can replay this once this class is uploaded onto the site, so you can watch that part a few times to get it right. But for reverse contouring, you actually don't really use a contour, you focus more on the highlight shades. So to do a reverse contour, if your skin is already deep or dark toned, what you want to do is use your highlight color, which is a few shades lighter than your natural tone, down the center of your nose, and use that same highlight color on the sides of the nose so that there's a gap in between the middle line and the side edges that you're filling in with the highlight. And that little gap is going to be your natural skin color, and that's going to look like it's a contour line. So watch that demonstration again and again, that middle model, so you guys can see how it looks on African American skin tones and how reverse contouring actually does make it look like an actual contoured nose. You could do the same trick with the cheekbones and everything too with reverse contouring, focusing more on the highlight zones rather than the contour zones. But in this case, in today's model, I also did add a little bit of the contouring, and I used powders for her instead of liquids. So you guys are able to see the bronzing effect and the highlighting effect just with powders. So it's pretty easy, I would say. I love your guys' comments. Thank you so much. Okay, so Real77 is asking, how do you cover wide nostrils? I want to make it look smaller. So you know how I also did it for the African American model. We did the light here and we did the light here. So when you add light color to the nostrils, the edge of the nostrils, you're making it appear more like it's their cheek color, like their skin color. So you're kind of fading away the edges of the nostrils so it doesn't look as defined. If you put too much contouring there, so if you put too much bronzer on the side of the nostrils, you would think that it would make it look smaller, but it actually doesn't. I've seen in cases in pictures where if you add a little bit of bronzer to the side of the nose, it actually makes it look wider. You can actually see the real wideness of the nose. So stick to only highlighting on the nostrils and only applying your contour on the edge of that center highlight and ignoring the nostrils altogether. Just throw on the highlight and be done with it. And make sure it's not shiny at all. It's got to be completely matte, and then that way you're basically fading out and blurring the nostril so it doesn't look as sharp or as defined or as wide as they did before. Few more questions. All right, Baddie Insp is asking how to make large pores less visible on the nose but still have it defined. So if you have larger pores, start off with the POREfessional filler from Benefit Cosmetics. It's one of my favorites. I'll show you what it looks like right now. Do I have it here? OMG, I may not have it here. I probably used it on somebody else and didn't put it back. Okay, so POREfessional by Benefit. Yeah, I don't have it here right now. It's like a thicker tube, and it kind of is the filler. So you apply that, it's like a primer. You apply it with your fingertips all around the nose or any areas that you have larger pore size, and it tends to fill in the pores really well. And then you slap on the foundation by stippling it in, and then set it with powder, and you could just basically draw your highlight and your contours with powder as well. Keep everything really, really matte. Nothing should be shiny at all, and that way it's gonna blur the nose so that it blurs away those pores. So matte and fill it in before you do any of the makeup. No shimmer. So Sonika's henna art is asking, since the contour hugs the highlight, what is the tip to avoid blending the contour into the highlighted area? So when you're blending so what she's asking is, you know how I put the highlight line right in the center of the nose and then I put the 2 contour lines right hugging up against it? And then when you're blending, how do you avoid getting everything mixed together? Is you want to use a sharp enough brush. So the brushes that I used for the blending part, or the brush that I used for the blending part, is this brush from MAC. It's 287. It's pretty thin on the side and flat on the faces, but I just kind of use that skinny part and just kind of rubbed up and down. So I'm not pressing hard on this brush to split the bristles. I'm just using the tip of the brush so it doesn't go all over the place. And I'm just going up and down to wipe off the surface. And then when you're doing that highlight area, just flatly push it into the skin. You're not really rubbing it unless there's too much, and then you could just rub it with your finger. And that way you're not really mixing the two together. So just use a smaller brush or use your finger and be very precise with your movements so that they don't fall over each other. Trying to see what different questions I have. Okay, Oi Nilofar is saying, oh, and we met in the Bay Area last time. Hello. Just want to ask, my nose is more kind of like the first model you did, but one side seems to look more edgy in my pictures than the other. Any tricks for that? So the side of your nose that looks more sharper in pictures, go ahead and use more mattifying products and a little bit of like a medium color, just so it doesn't look as sharp on that side. And then to make the other side look a little bit sharper, you could add a darker contour right along the edges. So contouring the edge of the area that you want to look sharp is going to make it look even more sharp. So on the side that tends to not look sharp, add a little bit more of a sharper line of a contour there without blending it too much. And then the part that does look super sharp, you can add a little bit of your normal skin powder there to blur it so it doesn't look as edgy. Okay, so Contourage is saying, my nose is very long for my face. The tip exceeds my lips when you see it from the side. So when you see from the side, the tip of the nose goes a little bit down maybe and is exceeding the lips a little bit. Oh no, she's saying her nose is pretty long, but the tip of her nose kind of comes out a little bit more than the lips. So what she wants to do is make it look a little bit shorter. So do you remember when I did I don't know if you guys saw that part in the beginning of class, I did my own nose contour. I'm not sure if you missed it or you got it, but I have the same kind of issue. The bottom of my nose kind of hangs low and I like it to be kind of stuffed up a little bit. So I just create a line, and I did this for the second model, the first model that I had as well, the one that I did right after myself. So technically model number 2, but she was really model number 1. Her and I both have longer noses, so I just did this line right across the bottom of the tip there, and that kind of visually breaks the nose down so it doesn't look like it's hanging down, and it just looks a little bit shorter. So try that and see how you like that. Magnified Beauty is asking, for someone with an overall oily nose, will powder be enough, or can we use cream and set it with powder and it will be okay? As long as you're using oil-free products, you should be okay. So if you have a very oily nose, you can first start off with a primer that is meant for oil control, just to keep everything tamed. There's also a product, it's a super sealer from Cinema Secrets. It's meant for super oily zones of the face. So you can use that, spray it right directly on the nose, or just tap it in with a little bit of a sponge or something, and then use your primer and whatever cream products, and then set it with a lot of powder, like heavily set it with a lot of powder, so that it doesn't melt or move around the cream products. So try that if you want to be able to use a cream product but you're afraid that it's going to move around your oily nose. Use something to control the oil first, And then if you use your cream products, as long as it's not too oily, the product shouldn't be too oily. It should be a little bit drier, which is why I love the LA Girl Pro Conceal, because it dries so fast. It has a drier consistency. And then majorly pack on powder over it so that it does not move around throughout the day, and you should be just fine. Let's see. Okay, so Contourage is also saying that sometimes she has really weird dryness on the nose and only on her nose, and if she powders it, it starts to show. I had the same problem. So if you're super dry on the nose, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're scrubbing it very gently first with a scrub to remove any of the loose, flaky skin flaps that could raise up and down if you're putting too much powder on, if it's getting flaky. So make sure you're removing that flaky skin first by scrubbing it and using a good smoothing primer, something that can kind of smooth over the nose and feel a little bit silky, and then do your products over it, and it won't look as powdery when you put your powder on. I think I covered most of the nose contouring questions, but I want to answer some of the questions that I've gotten several times before, and I also got a couple questions here too regarding under eye creasing. So I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes answering some tips on under eyes. So if you have, if you need to use concealer under your eyes and you've noticed that it creases a lot, what you need to do is use a little bit less concealer and a little bit more powder. That ratio will create a little bit of a drier consistency under the eyes, which will help prevent it from moving around too much. Another option is to use a filling primer, something like the Professional, or even like an eyeshadow primer underneath the eye area where it can crease. So not below on the eye bag, but right in that little fold area underneath your eye, the lower eyelid that folds. You could put a little bit of the, one of my students actually mentioned to me that the Urban Decay Primer Potion works really well for crease lines. So you could put it in your laugh line, you could put it in your crease line under your eye, let it dry, and then apply your concealer and put a lot of powder over it just to make sure it doesn't slide around, and that tends to help. So try that option out by using maybe Urban Decay Primer Potion or some clear primer potion on the areas that tend to fold a lot, and that's going to keep things a little bit more balanced so it doesn't move around as much. So give that a try. And then also another question that I get a lot is regarding dark circles. If you guys have bags or dark circles under your eyes, make sure you're using a concealer that's not too white. You want to use a concealer that is a little bit more orange, a little bit more peachy orange tone, and that way it just looks a little bit more healthy. And also the orange tones cancel out the darkness of the under eye dark circles. So if you have dark circles, use an orangey tone concealer first, and then you could use whatever regular colors that you have over it just to hide the orange, but that's going to knock it out and make it look so much better. But if you go right into a light color concealer, it can look gray, and that's absolutely not something you should go for. Also, when it comes to eye bags, since we're talking about the nose contouring and we talked about the light versus the dark, and the lights make things look out more and the dark makes things look more in, if you have major eye bags, one way to remove the look of the eye bags, especially on more mature women where it's a heavier eye bag, what you want to do is right on the lower part of the eye bag where it's dark, that's where you want to add a lighter color. So like a light peach concealer right under the dark area, the part that's hanging, use that. And then the part that's poofed out more, use a hint of a bronzer. So don't add too much white concealer there because it's going to make it look poofed out more. Use a little bit of a darker concealer or your own skin color concealer, and then when you're setting it with powder, you can add a little bit of a matte bronzer color or something that's maybe a shade or two darker than your natural skin tone right on the poofiest part of the eye bag, and it will make the eye bag look like it's going in a little bit. And because you used a lighter color, a brighter color underneath the eye bag, that part's going to look like it's going out a little bit, and it'll look more straight rather than poof hanging back. I hope that makes sense. I tend to explain things really crazy, and I overly explain a lot, so I hope I'm not just jabbering on. I really hope that you are understanding what I'm saying. So eye bags, the baggy part, make it recede by using a slightly darker color, and then the part that's sunken in, bring it out by using a slightly brighter orangey light color to make it come out a little bit more. And then, boop, it starts to even out and it doesn't look as much of an eye bag anymore. Yay! So that concludes today's class. The next class is going to be, I know that a lot of you guys commented that you liked my makeup look today. Our next class is going to be something a little bit more vampy like this, but it's going to be much more dramatic on the eyes. So look really, really cool. Go ahead and look at the homepage of dressyourfacelive.com so you can see the exact look that I'm going to be teaching, and that's going to be in another week or so. So it's going to be dark lips and cat eyes, cut crease, glitter, all sorts of cool stuff. It's going to look amazing, and I really want to show you, especially we are in a Halloween month. So we're going to be, you know, doing a little bit of a darker, more fall look for the rest of our makeup looks for this month. So I'm really excited to show you that next class. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, if you guys have not yet signed up for the year membership, we are giving away an amazing free box gift that comes with all those highlighting and contouring stuff for you. So if you like what you saw in today's class and any of my past contour classes, we have that free box when you sign up for a year, and the year is already a discounted price. The free box is just our gift to you as a thank you for your continued membership on dressyourfacelive.com. So check that out on the homepage of Dress Your Face Live so you can see all the goodies that are in that box and all the ways that you can pre-sign up for your year. In case you've already signed up for a year, you can pre-sign up for your following year as well without any penalties. So you can take advantage of our free gift. So thank you so much for watching, and if you do post anything about this class or any of the screenshots that you took in class, make sure you hashtag DressYourFaceLive so I can see and love your posts and show you guys my appreciation as well. And I'd love to see your own before and afters of your nose contour today, and also you can hashtag DressYourFaceLive for that too so I can give you guys my input if you have any questions. Thank you. I'll see you later. Bye.